So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining our session today, our information session for host organizations for the ArtWorksTO Newcomer Program. Very exciting new program in partnership between Toronto Arts Foundation's Neighbourhood Arts Network and Work and Culture. We're very happy to be involved. Just wait a couple more minutes as folks get settled in. But just as a soft start, I will offer a reminder that this session is geared towards host organizations who are interested in being involved in this program. So if you are an artist, a newcomer artist, who is looking to apply to be a participant in this program, you should visit the Neighbourhood Arts Network website for more information about that. We'll only be talking about the host organization elements today. So just want to make sure that everybody is in the right session before we get going. Okay, and it's 12:02, so why don't we just move along. In terms of housekeeping for today, there are Zoom captions available, so the transcript at the bottom of the screen if you'd like to follow along there. We also have a live transcript service called Otter AI that you can view in a separate browser if you are so inclined. A note that as you saw when you came in, the session is being recorded. We're only going to be recording the initial program details, and we will stop the recording when we get to the Q&A period, just so that you know that your questions won't be recorded and shared publicly. So on that note, we will ask that you please save your questions to the end, if possible. If you have something that is just burning in your mind and you want to make sure that you get it down, you are welcome to type them into the chat, and my colleague Brianne D'Angelo will make sure to monitor that, and we'll revisit them as we get to the end of the session. And a reminder that full program details about the host organization elements can be found on the Working Culture website. There's a link there. And if you do have any additional questions coming out of this info session or as you visit the application form, you're welcome to be in touch with me, Stephanie Draker, anytime. So in terms of what we're going to be covering today in this info session, again, a reminder for anybody who's just joining that this info session is geared towards host organizations or employers that are looking into how they might apply to be involved in this ArtWorksTO Newcomer Program. So we're going to be covering the program structure and some key timelines. We'll go over the host organization eligibility, as well as the roles and expectations of being involved. And we'll go into some details about the host organization application and matching process. And then at the end, we'll open things up to any additional question and answers with the program team, so that if you do have questions right now, then questions as we go through all of the info, you're welcome to ask for any kind of clarification live. Additionally, you can contact us after the fact as well. So just as another reminder, any artists who are currently on the call who are looking to apply as participants in this program, we would invite you to visit the Neighbourhood Arts Network website for more information about that. And next, some introductions to the folks on the call. I've already introduced Brianne D'Angelo from Work and Culture, who is our tech support, better her than I. And my name is Stephanie Draker. I am the program manager with Work and Culture, and I am also serving as the employer engagement and support lead for the ArtWorksTO program. Very excited to be involved. And joining me today is the ArtWorksTO program lead, Jimena Beracoa, who is overseeing a number of aspects of the program, including the artist selection, and also collaborating with me very directly with the host organization engagement piece. So Jimena will also go over some details about the program. But before that, a little bit more about Work and Culture for those of you who are new to us. So we are a nonprofit art service organization that has been serving the cultural sector since 1998, so over 25 years now. Our mission is to advance the careers of artists, creatives, and culture workers from all sorts of diverse lived experiences. We also support the organizations that engage them through entrepreneurial and business skills development, as well as innovative workforce research. We have a long history of working with like-minded organizations like the Toronto Arts Foundation and Neighbourhood Arts Network, and we have increasingly found ourselves serving as a bridge between newcomers and arts employers across the province. So this opportunity to continue our work in partnership to continue identifying barriers to employment for newcomer artists and programming to support the reduction of those barriers for all involved is quite timely and definitely relevant for us. So I will turn things over to Jimena next to give us a bit of a background on Neighborhood Arts Network and a few slides to give you a stronger background on the program itself. Jimena, over to you.
Hi, thank you, Stephanie, and thank you everyone for being here. So I want to start by telling you about the Neighborhood Art Network, or NAN. And NAN is a city-wide network that supports artists working with diverse communities across Toronto. It was created by the Toronto Arts Foundation. And it offers free memberships, mentorship, professional development, and different kind of equity-focused programs. For many years now, NAN has played a very important role in supporting newcomer artists through awards, mentorship, workforce development, and many community connections. And now with the ArtWorksTO Newcomer Program, that support is being expanded and brought into one focused initiative, not just within Toronto, but across the greater Toronto area. Could you pass to the next slide, Steph? Okay, so let me tell you a little bit more about the ArtWorksTO Newcomer Program. This initiative builds on years of work that the Neighborhood Arts Network has done to support newcomer artists, the one that I just mentioned. What is new is that all of that experience is now being brought together into one focused and very structured program. So the goal now is to create a greater and more lasting impact both on the artist's career on one side and the organizations and communities they'll collaborate with. And all this is by combining mentorship, paid work, and credential training. So this year, the program will support 25 newcomer artists working in media arts or in arts education, and it will be a mutually enriching process. On one side, the artists will gain real-world experience and support, and on the other side, the organization will benefit from engaging with a creative individual who brings a fresh perspective, diverse cultural background, and new ways of thinking into their work. Could you pass to the next step? So the program is divided into two streams based on the focus of each artist practice. We have stream 1, which is for media artists, and will start in the fall of 2025. And this stream is for artists whose careers have progressed beyond the early stages for both streams. We're not looking for emerging artists. These are artists that have progressed beyond that early stage, either in their home countries or here in Canada. But these artists are still facing barriers in fully establishing themselves in the Canadian art landscape. So just to be more clear, media arts include disciplines like graphic design, photography, user experience design, digital illustration, animation, film, sound art, interactive or wave-based media. So the selected participants will have a portfolio that shows strong technical skills, artistic control, and a clear personal voice. They also need to have participated at least in 3 public exhibitions or showcases anywhere in the world. It could be like, for example, screening, participation in festivals, digital exhibition, or any other kind of public presentation that is relevant to their field. Then for the stream 2 is for arts educators, and it will begin in the winter of 2026. And this stream is open to artists from any discipline, including, I don't know, literature, music, dance, performance, visual arts, etc. But this group of artists will have experience teaching or leading arts education programs. So that experience can come from schools, universities, museums, libraries, community centers, or other settings, also either in their country or maybe in Canada. Besides their experience in arts education, and something that is very important, the applicants from both streams should also have an active artistic practice, a portfolio, a history of public exhibitions or showcases, because this stream is intended for practicing artists, educators who are both creators and educators. So overall, both streams are for newcomer artists who are already working in their field, but still need support to take the next step professionally in Canada. And that's where this program and the role of the project host becomes so important. So Canada is projected to welcome around 2.4 million new immigrants entering the workforce between 2022 and 2031. At the same time, over 70% of new jobs will require post-secondary education or management skills, and that demand is steadily increasing. So this shows that newcomer artists need more than just talent. They require focused training, support, and opportunities to build the skills that they need to succeed in Canada. So our program responds directly to this need by offering workforce development that equips newcomer artists to access meaningful career opportunities and make strong contributions to the art sector, as well as other industries and their communities in general. The next slide, Steph. Thank you. So the program has 3 key levels of support. First, we have training. All the participants will take specialized micro-credential courses at OCAD University that are tailored to their stream. For example, the media arts, the stream 1, will complete introduction to project management and social enterprise. And the arts educators, stream 2, will take teaching art and also project management course. And both streams can also select one elective course after they finish with these obligatory courses. Then they will have access to mentorship. So each participant will be matched with a mentor who provides one-on-one and group guidance to support their professional growth and project development. And finally, and this is what is very important to this info session, they will get a project development and paid work placement. The participants will gain through this, they will gain hands-on experience by working on projects proposed by host organizations, and they can apply to, they will have access to all the projects submitted, and they will apply to up to 3 projects. And then together with working culture, we will match them to the best fit. And so these 3 levels that I just mentioned, the training and the mentorship, will directly support their success in the 3rd level, in the placements for developing this project.
Thank you, Jimena. So you can start to see how it's such a lovely mutualization in terms of, how the artists and the partners and the host organizations are involved. It really acts as a much needed bridging into, a sector that is, at times challenging to find entry and success in, even more so when you're faced with the types of barriers that that newcomers can often face when coming to Canada. So in terms of how the host organizations will support this program, as Jimena started going into, host organizations will apply and propose a short-term project idea for either or both streams. You're allowed to apply to more than one. And these projects will align with the sought after expertise. So either you're going to propose a project that has a media arts focus, like graphic design, videography, digital illustration, etc., or an arts education focus. So something like maybe a series of art workshops, creative facilitation, things like that. Selected host organizations will be matched to a media artist or arts educator to fulfill that short-term project. And the selected artist will receive $5,000 from ArtWorksTO to cover their direct costs related to their involvement in the project. So for instance, their time, expertise, even materials that might be applicable to the project. In terms of who is eligible to apply as a host organization, host organizations that are interested in engaging a creative newcomer and supporting their inclusion in career advancement, including GTA-based arts organizations, either for-profit, nonprofit, any discipline, all sizes and scope. Municipalities are also eligible to apply, as well as libraries and other community serving organizations. Other nonprofit and for-profit organizations looking to engage that creative lens are also eligible to apply, as well as small and large scale businesses. So it's quite a broad range of potential host organizations that we're looking to, just to make sure that we're also broadening our reach and building on that concerted effort to make sure that newcomer artists are really engaged and embedded into the workforce in Canada. And in addition, previous ArtWorksTO host organizations are also eligible to apply. So if you did participate in a program, ArtWorksTO program in the past, or perhaps applied to a previous program, you're also eligible to apply for this round. And in terms of where the project can happen, now even though Toronto Arts Foundation geographically serves Toronto, the region has actually been expanded for this particular program, in part to recognize, I think, the current settlement realities of folks who are coming to Canada. So City of Toronto, definitely, but also the Greater Toronto Area, including the following regional municipalities. So Durham region, which includes cities like, Ajax, Oshawa, Pickering, Halton region as well, which includes cities like Burlington, Milton, and Oakville, Peel region, which includes Brampton, Mississauga, Caledon, and more, and as well as York region, which includes Aurora, Markham, Vaughan, and Richmond Hill. In addition, host organizations will also need to provide suitable workspace, either in person or virtual kind of platform setups, and or accessible venue space to support the work that's being completed by the newcomer participant. So for instance, this could be a dedicated working desk or space, a workshop venue, event space, etc. And then in terms of what kind of projects are eligible, Amanda started going into some detail, but they have to be projects for the first stream, the media arts stream, that require the expertise in these following skills. It doesn't have to be all of them, could be just one of them, but it could be things like 3D rendering to create, modeling for specific visualization, digital illustration, graphic design, photography, videography, and digital photography, skills and outputs that help develop and present content, as well as, things that help support marketing or social media campaign development, right up to and including things like website and user experience design. We do include some examples in our guidelines if you want to look into those, and there are some prompts in the actual application form to help you think about how you might start quantifying the value of the work that you'd like to propose. And in terms of Stream 2 for the arts educators, the kind of projects that you can propose can include, things like arts-based programming, things that are skill or technique focused, for instance, painting lessons, dance lessons, crafting kind of workshops, things like that. There could also be, creative workshops where perhaps, art output isn't necessarily the end result, but using creativity or artistic skill to infuse that into the training is helpful. So for instance, using narrative tools to help with personal growth or innovation, bringing in design principles for workshops, things like that. Things like co-designing curriculum through a creative lens can really help with rethinking how you frame creative thinking or problem solving, even collaboration and communication, using movement and expression, things like that. Community engagement opportunities, are definitely well aligned with arts education, especially if you're looking to address, local history or a specific community identity. Arts is used to explore themes of like justice and healing and therapy, and work very well. In addition, even, considering the space that you work within and how things are presented, exhibition and tour development, for instance, how to engage the public more directly, and reach your audiences in different ways. And all to say that any of these kind of proposed programs or projects can be for specific communities or all ages. For instance, you might be thinking about art camps for youth, maybe an art club for seniors. So there can be that kind of specificity as well. I will note that in terms of ineligible project activities, project proposals that don't align with the skill sets on offer from either our media artists or arts educators are not eligible. So it really does have to align with the focus and the themes of the streams. In addition, the project proposals must also strictly adhere to the proposed outcomes and activities that are approved as part of the matching process. So host organizations cannot add additional unrelated duties or responsibilities as part of the proposal or after the fact, at least during the program. If there is an opportunity for a continuing relationship post the program, that's certainly something that you can explore, but do make sure that within your proposed project, it does adhere to the eligible types of projects. And just to give you a bit of context, here's a lovely example from a past ArtWorksTO program. In 2024, the newcomer office at City Hall proposed a project to develop branding for their 10th anniversary of Newcomer Day, which is a large-scale event that happens every May at City Hall, Nathan Phillips Square. A ArtWorksTO participant, Sarita Khan, led the branding work for this particular project. And in fact, this year, she was hired again directly by the city to design promotional materials for the event. So it's a wonderful example of what kind of work can be done and also how a relationship can continue even after the fact. So in terms of timing and when a project can happen, there are no minimum number of days required for a project. However, host organizations must ensure that they are proposing a project with a manageable timeline that can be completed within 3 months. So for Stream 1, for the media arts, that project timeline can happen anytime between November 15th, 2025 to February 15th, 2026. And for Stream 2, for the arts educators, that project can happen anytime between March 2nd, 2026 and June 1st, 2026. So important timelines to keep in mind as you're developing your project proposal and doing your application. We'll also note that host organizations just need to be mindful that, as you saw from him in his earlier description, that the selected artists will also be engaged in other mentorship and learning activities through OCADU and Neighborhood Arts Network. So there could be a possibility that some timelines may need to be adjusted to allow for participation in those sessions. So some flexibility maybe need to be factored in. And then in terms of direct costs covered, so as mentioned earlier, the artists selected in this program will each receive $5,000 to compensate for their time, expertise, and any materials related directly to their involvement in the program and your project proposal. So for instance, just as an example, a videographer working on a project to capture a series of community interviews would have their time, travel, equipment rentals, software costs covered by ArtWorksTO, up to $5,000. For an arts education example, a visual artist, perhaps specializing in teaching youth on how to create collages, will have their workshop planning, teaching time, travel, and related workshop material costs covered, again, up to $5,000. So an important distinction here that you can propose a project that exceeds that $5,000 amount, but if it is approved and selected, the ArtWorksTO will only cover up to $5,000. The host organization will then be expected to cover any additional cost or adjust their project activities to fit within that 5,000 ceiling. So again, an example, A host may propose a project that involves delivering 6 creative writing workshops, but the $5,000 amount after assessment of the time and expertise required to deliver those workshops means that ArtWorksTO will only be able to compensate the arts educator to provide 5 workshops. So the option there, the host organization can either cover the remaining costs associated with providing that additional 6th workshop, or they adjust their project to only deliver 5 workshops. So there is opportunity to do some adjustment and realigning, depending on the project type and the selected artists in the program, to make sure that it's a good fit. And then in terms of indirect costs involved in this project, so there will be the need for some indirect costs related to hosting the newcomer participant and administering the project. So the host organization will have to cover staff time, and that could be involved for onboarding, supervising the participant, participating in the evaluation and the measurement of the success of the program. You may need to factor in any related administrative and equipment costs to support and monitor the newcomer participant. You might consider providing, the appropriate workspace or venue space as an indirect cost as well. That could be, temporary desk, or, access to a temporary computer if applicable, or workspace with tables and chairs, for instance. Any other overhead costs associated with hosting this project, and then any costs associated with hosting or communicating about the final outcomes of the project. You may want to be able to share the outcomes, and certainly in the case if you're developing a new social media campaign, there will be work that continues on beyond the timeline of this particular project. So just important things to keep in mind. In terms of how to apply, applications are actually open now. For Stream 1 for the media artists, they will be accepted between June 23rd, 2025 to August 22nd, 2025. And then online applications for the Stream 2 arts educators will be accepted from June 23rd, 2025 to November 17th, 2025. So important to note, there's a little bit of a longer tail for the arts educators. Other application considerations: you can propose more than one project or submit multiple applications to either or both streams. But we just ask that you do submit individual applications if that is the fact, if you do have more than one idea. In terms of how the project applications will be assessed, they will be reviewed by an advisory committee consisting of the program partners and other industry representatives. In addition to assessing the proposed projects against the roster of newcomer artists that are selected in the program, the host organization projects will also be measured to the impact of the organizational goals. So the application explains how the proposed work will help the organization achieve a clear and impactful goal or learning objective and engage their intended audience if applicable. The host organization must provide a effective project plan that has laid out a very clear and reasonable plan for the project, including an appropriate timeline and project scope and scale to achieve the identified goals. Additionally, the project deliverables and outcomes have to be eligible, reasonable, and appropriate for what the project aims to achieve and in the timeline provided, and against the ArtWorksTO budget provided to the artist. So again, just as a reminder, if the project value exceeds that $5,000 amount provided by ArtWorksTO, the host organization can clarify if and how they would cover additional costs to ensure the success of that project. And that piece can be massaged if the host organization is invited to proceed with the matching process. And then in addition, we're also looking for learning and evaluation impact. So the organization can outline how they've considered and plan to learn from and assess the success of the project, and not only the work that's being done, but also being involved in this program. And then in terms of when folks will hear about the results of their application, so for Stream 1 for the media arts, we anticipate that the successful host organizations will be contacted by the week of October 20th, 2025 to move on to the matching process with their proposed media artists. And then following successful match, they'll enter into an agreement in early November 2025. And then similarly for stream 2, we anticipate that the successful host organizations will be contacted during that week of February 9th and move on to the matching process with their proposed newcomer artists and enter into agreement by late February. Just to note that as part of this matching process, your project activities and timelines, may be reassessed and adjusted to keep in line with the ArtWorksTO Newcomer Program objectives and compensation rate. And in addition, it may be possible that, based on the skills of the artist roster, that there may not be a fit. So that is still a reality. So just something to keep in mind. And yeah, moving forward, that doesn't preclude you then from applying to future rounds. And then one other thing to mention before we open things up for questions is just to confirm that there is an evaluation component to this program. So ArtWorksTO is working with a third-party evaluation company to collect feedback from both the newcomer artists and the host organizations throughout the program. So as a host organization, if you're selected for the program, you'll be asked to complete surveys, potentially additional interviews or check-ins through the third-party evaluation company about your involvement in the program. And then additionally, because we just can't seem to get enough surveys, Working Culture, acting as the host organization employment engagement strategy lead, will also be monitoring the host organizations throughout the project and will check in on a regular basis to track the project progress, see how things are going. And we may also request additional feedback through surveys, interviews, and collections of testimonials to better understand, what career development and workplace resources may benefit future iterations of this program for both sides, both the newcomers and also the employers. So that is an overview of the program guidelines for the host organizations. At this point, I'm going to open things up for questions and invite anybody who has any questions or requests for clarity on what we've covered today to either type it into the chat or use the raise hand function, and we will start going through those now.